So, do you ever question how you're doing with loving your enemies? The way I learned how to love my enemies was over time. It took a long time. And first, you have to know who your enemies are, and they make themselves pretty well known throughout your life. So, for me, one of my enemies was my in-laws, and through various reasons of their stubbornness and my stubbornness and mistakes we both made along the ways, I don't know. So the first time I met my father-in-law, we were at a bar. I was meeting them. They had come in from town, and they were heavy drinkers at the time. And um, I went to be introduced to my father-in-law, and he hit me in my face. That was my first introduction, was to be smacked in the face by him. And that kind of was hard. They were bikers, and that kind of crowd is different. And he hit me because I made his son worry because I was late. Now, that's something for a lot of people that's hard to even hear, and I get that. Trust me. It's like, what? Holy crap! And you didn't run? Where was your red flag? Oh my God! Right? Well, um, yeah, I still married him, but his hardness and his cold, callous nature just made him my enemy. And then time happened, and life happened, and there came a day when there wasn't anybody else in his life, and he was a very sick man. He had a couple of different kinds of cancer that he had tried to recover from about 5 years before, but now it came back and it was terminal. And he had moved into our neighborhood, and my husband would take him, what he needed or whatever, and they would bicker all the time. And I had to go over there sometime for something I couldn't remember, and I was really dragging my feet. Didn't want to. And excuse me. And I went in the house, and it was just me there, and he started crying. And told me that he wanted me to come and visit him more often, and that he was really sorry for everything, and that he forgave me for everything that I had done, and he just needed some companionship, and he was so lonely, and he didn't want to die alone. And for me, that was hard because it melted me, for one. And it was work because he was still kind of a bear, you know. But I went over every day, and I sat with him. I took him dinner. He really liked fast food. Taco Bell, KFC, all those. He just loved fast food, or McDonald's, and he was dying anyways. So it was just a matter of time he chose not to treat. And him and his wife had gotten divorced a couple of years prior to that. They'd been married for like 45, 50 years, something like that. And it was just a weird set of circumstances that led to this mean old man who was bitter and treated people like garbage his whole life, being alone, what he deserved. And something just kind of sparked in me where there really wasn't anybody else. Like, even his neighbor was trying to help him. She was a nurse, and he would complain so much that she wound up throwing his pizza in his face, and they had to call the police, and it was this whole horrible thing, and the neighbor moved. And I mean, he was a mean man, calloused, hard man, beat his wife, just did all kinds of, mean man. And here I am at the end of his life with him, at his beck and call. Sometimes it was really annoying, but something happened when I got alone with him, And I got to know him, and I got to hear his stories, and I got to learn why he was the way that he was. And I fell in love with him. And I was the one putting the lotion on his feet when he died. I was the one washing the scum out of his mouth, because I loved him that much. I was the one making sure his hair was combed and his nails were clipped. So how much do you love your enemies? What can you do to humble yourself before your enemy? And expect absolutely nothing in return. You know, I saw the hardest man I'd ever known fall in love with love before he died. I saw him reconcile all of the relationships he possibly could before he died in that last year. And that worst relationship turned out to be one of the most valuable lessons. And I can never, ever be sorry for that time that he hit me in my face. Because it started a hatred in me that turned into such a love that I can't even imagine ever not knowing. And that one I didn't have to go back and look at. I love you guys.